Hey, it's Dr. D, and I have got another story time for you. So this story time is about if you've ever gone into work one day and all of a sudden you have a coworker who looks like they got punched in the eye. So that happened to one of my friends recently. Their coworker came in and had this huge red bump on their lower eyelid. So they were asking me what could have happened there. So you have actually all these little glands that line your upper and your lower lid. They're called Meibomian glands. They're like these little vertical glands all the way along. And what can happen with those glands is they can actually get infected. And that's what had happened in my friend's coworker's case. So when a Meibomian gland gets infected, it's gonna look like a big bump, and the person might even be able to feel it on their upper or lower eyelid. If it's on the upper eyelid, it might make your eyelid droop down a little bit. You might see a visible bump, and it can also be just really red and almost look like they got punched. So it's just an infection in one of the glands, okay? So it's not that big of a deal as long as it gets treated right away. Let's say you just ignored it and you're like, oh, it's just a little infection, it's gonna go away. The worst case would be that infection starts to spread along your eyelid. So that's what we call preseptal cellulitis. A cellulitis is just a skin infection kind of moving along. We call it preseptal because it's only in the front part of the eye. The worst case scenario, the very worst, would be, let's say your friend or coworker gets a bump, they don't treat it, it turns into a skin infection, preseptal cellulitis, and then it actually can move backward. So there's a septum that separates sort of the eye cavity from going back into your brain. It's the same reason why you can't lose a contact lens in your brain. It's never gonna go back that far because there's a septum dividing it. Well, in the case of an infection like this, what could happen is that infection could move backwards and cause more issues. If your coworker started having a fever, if their eye wouldn't turn all the way and they started having restriction in movement, that may mean that infection has moved backward toward the brain. So next time your coworker has a red spot on their eye, don't just assume they got punched by someone. Make sure to encourage them to go to an eye doctor because even these little infections need to be looked at in and around the eye. Treating these is really simple. It just requires either topical or oral antibiotics or both. Remember, it's just an infection. So as long as we get an antibiotic on board, either topical or oral or both, we're gonna get rid of that infection and prevent it from getting out of control and going backward towards your brain. I hope you enjoyed that story time. Make sure to come back every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. If you haven't already, hit the like button, the subscribe, and that little bell. We'd much appreciate it.